Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are going on a little bit of an adventure today because I am alone in Finland and I am looking for a little grilly place. Now, I've been told that there is one that I didn't know about that is actually fairly close to where I live, so I've just popped into the shop to grab some stuff. I've made sure I've got everything I need, which means I've just grabbed some Red Bull and some Monster, because I drink both. I don't want to discriminate between the main brands. And I'm going to head off and find a little grilly place that is somewhere nice, calm. We can make a bit of a lunch out of it. I say lunch, I don't actually know what time it is. It is sort of mid-afternoon, I believe. This is Ascension Day. If you don't know what Ascension Day is, if you weren't raised in any of the Christian mythologies, then Ascension Day is the day that Jesus went back up to heaven, supposedly. Remember, Jesus didn't die for your sins. Jesus was resurrected 3 days later, after drinking with his mates. So Jesus had a hangover for your sins, at best. I think we all know somebody who is more worthy than Jesus to be praised for what they've done to you. But if you are one of those religious people, I'm sorry for your mental illness. There is help available. Right, let's go for a little wander. So the first thing that's going on is I've come up to the stables and I've parked in the closest part that I could find. Now, if I just actually bring up my map, now there is a trail, it looks like the trail goes down, so if I just bring this up here, it does look like we have a bit of a trail that sort of heads straight down here. Our little grilly place is around about there, so I'm inclined to follow the trail. So let's go and have a wander. Now there's lots of these trails in Finland. It's kind of like where I lived in Ayrshire in Scotland. There is an awful lot of little trails for cycling, a lot of cycle paths. But over here it is more walking trails and things of this kind. So as you can see here, it's giving you a little bit of the trail history, but it also shows you, not sure if you can see that little blue one, that's the grilly place. So that's where we're actually heading. So I need to have a look at it, because this looks to be what they are putting up and what they are changing. We've got one here, but we've also got one down there, one across here. So I'm going to head this way. You can see that they're putting in some allotments. I'm going to head this way and try and find the grilly place. And at the same time try and keep the camera balanced. Quite nice little walks you get around about here. It's also something that I need to keep doing. I don't know what happened, but a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so back, something happened to my ankle and it has not been the same since. It's like a bad sprain, but right over the top of the ankle. And as somebody said in one of my previous videos, if you're ill you need to get to the doctor. Unfortunately, the health service in the local area is lacking at best, shall we say. If you call for a doctor's appointment, they'll tell you they don't have one, unless it is sort of more urgent. And if it is very urgent, they will tell you to go to the hospital. But obviously, accident and emergency. The hospital and the health centre are in the same building nowadays. But accident and emergency can't deal with most stuff that you need a doctor for. So there is no real ability to get help. So now it's saying we're here, and it's saying straight ahead may be the grilly place. So I don't see a path going to the left. Oh, but I'm a complete idiot. Not seeing a forest for the trees. I didn't see the sign saying Lavvu. So this is like fire pit. So we shall head to the Lavvu. Okay, I'm just going to keep following this. Not quite sure where I'm going. That's kind of the fun of these ones. Just go out, see whereabouts. I have to see how stable this footage is. But if I'm right, I might be about to come to the place. It's a little camping ground that I was at a minute ago in my car. Yep. Yeah. Insert clip of me turning around right here. So this is not where I want to be. Let me just turn that around there. So it wasn't the right thing. I didn't want to park here because this is private people's cabins. Or summer cottages for business. Which I think means that just over here after this first cabin on the left, we are hanging left. Now you may hear it as I'm talking. I'm going to be breathing heavy. And that is the other side of being me. I am not exactly a small person. So I'm going to head down this way, but I think I'm too far north. We shall see. So these lavas, like I've shown in the previous one, you get them all over the place. There's a few different sites online for them that talk about or sort of give directions to them. So you can find them in various ways. But some of them are on public land and just sort of left to be. And some of them are maintained. But they're definitely worth it. It's the expression that people say, get out and touch grass. And I find that it's something that not enough people understand the value of. It's not really valuing it, it's understanding what the value is, whether you want it yourself. Little path down there. So this is our main route. And the path goes off to the sauna and stuff there, but we are coming down here. A little bit steep, so I've got to pay attention to my ankle. But this is the place. But yeah, a lot of people don't sort of understand the value of getting out, changing your scenery, taking a break, moving away from the computer, just standing up. It's one of the funny things. If you have a look at a lot of the esports teams and things like this, they have quite high fitness requirements and fitness regimens. The reason is that getting up, moving, being active, starts moving blood around your body, gets more oxygen to where it needs to be. And it can help with things like reaction times, thinking, just general sort of mental processing of stuff. So that's where these things come in, where they're a very helpful thing. There is quite a sort of good work-life balance in the Nordic countries. People understand the value of taking time away. I'm saying rubbish already, which immediately pisses me off. But yeah. So this is the little Lavvu here. Little fire pit. You have access to the beach, to the lake. I say beach, that's the beach. But you have access to the lake. Obviously people have been doing their drinking and shit like that. So we should tidy all that stuff up. It's annoying cleaning up after others, but it's what must be done. Then, very carefully, I need to, without catching my watch, take my backpack off. Just try and tilt this around. There we go. Trying to control the gimbal. So, if you're wondering about this particular thing, I just sort of carry some of the timbers just in a little bit of paracord. I've got a reel of paracord that is about 20 years old now. And then I'm just going to put some sticks off to the side. I do actually have a nice little bag, so I can actually use that nice little bag for taking away some of the shite. But right, I'll set up the camera and I'll make some dinner. Right, so what do we have today? I'm not sure which one of these. There is a Red Bull, there is a Monster Juice, many flavours. I might go for the Monster. Then we have the foods. But first, before the foods, we need a fire. So, same as normal. Take all that crap out. And strip off the bark for starting the fire. Just drop the bark in the middle. Strip off a bit more bark. Want as much as possible. Paper bark is fantastic for starting this stuff up. So all I'm going to do is just cross hatch it. Just like that. Don't need more than that. Just cooking a couple of sausages. So starting up, I'm actually going to grab 3 matches together, run them off the striker, and then that will be enough to light off our paper bark, which will burn down everything else. Then, I shall check about, I don't have a big plastic bag, but I do have, I'll put the matches back in now. I do have the sacred fork. So, in the little bag that we had before, got my little bag here, as you can see. And the first thing is a wee plastic bag with some ropes, so that'll give us one bag for cleaning up stuff. We have got, what's this? Cuckoo mayonnaise, which is cucumber mayonnaise, but more accurately it's gherkin mayonnaise. Finns don't really differentiate between cucumbers and gherkins. They eat tons of both. And then, one more time, chorizo sausages, because I do love them. But also, the family doesn't like the spiciness, so if we ever get them, I end up eating them. Not that that's the reason we get them. And so this is the main plan. It's quite a nice thing over here. Let's have a look. So we have a lot. Let me bring up the zoom. I've got 4x zoom on this cam. So we're using a wee Osmo cam. I'm not exactly a big fan of using any of the Chinese stuff because of all of the fuckery that's going on. Especially with handing stuff over to the government and things like this. But this particular... Oh! Let's have a spy down there. We've got a wee duck just landed. We shall call him Lunch, he's just down there. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with the Chinese government, which is making it problematic for some of the rest of us. A friend of mine actually had to sell his phone because it was discovered that there was backdoors into whichever phone brand it was. I am not sure. I don't care. But I'm very conscious about the apps and things that are actually put onto my stuff. There was a while back where, what was it? It was Facebook and Instagram I had on my phone, and I noticed that advertising was coming up that was not stuff that had ever been put into the internet. It was stuff that had come up in conversations, and I was particularly weirded out by it. So then I spoke to a friend of mine and we had a conversation, and we actually left our phones and stuff to the side, went out of the room, had a conversation, and then said, right, we're going to go back in and talk about this. So the running joke was we'd talk about feet. So we come back into the room where both of our phones are, and we start having a conversation about feet and all of this stuff. We're having a bit of a drink at a time. We are taking a piss, and she happens to mention fungus. And she's talking about toe fungus and just taking the piss. And then, not even a week later, I start getting adverts. A lot of adverts for stuff to cure toe fungus and stuff like this. I was like, oh my god, it's actively listening. So, one of my other mates did a little thing about packet tracing, and he was like, you do realise that there is packets going to a specific server. While this stuff's inactive on your phone, it shouldn't be doing anything. So that was the sort of the be all and end all for me, and I got rid of the stuff. And I actually completely cancelled Facebook and all social media at that point, with the exception of YouTube and with the exception of Discord, but I've got different grievances with that now. However, when I got rid of that, then all of a sudden my data bill for my phone, or my data rate, because it's tracked but it's not charged the way that the phones work over here in Finland. It's sort of free data for everybody, but tracking it, all of a sudden it halved overnight, and I was like, how much is being sent that people aren't aware of? They've not got the apps open, they're not doom scrolling, but stuff is still being transmitted. And if it's transmitting that much data, the hell are they taking off your phone to do it, or what the hell are they listening to, etc.? Because just transmitting audio would be not much. And this was before sort of the main AI focus and all that jazz. So this is something that can be done to de-stress, to take away a little bit of peace of mind. I know, and I can understand for a lot of people, especially people like myself that are ADHD, that it's difficult to shut your mind down. and it's difficult to get away from circular sort of thought processes, especially if you're not in a good place. If you happen to, say for instance, live in a world where the fuel costs have just fucking doubled for you because of some arsehole in America, even though none of the oil, none of the fuel that you deal with personally has ever gone through the Middle East, still the worldwide situation goes to shit. And it's difficult to get your head off of that, those worries. But changing your view, changing your attitude, it's not something that can be done overnight, but it's something that can be worked on. And I am not the expert in this by any means. I have not got a healthy brain. I have a lot of problems, and I have some exacerbated problems. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, which has actually existed for so long that it became complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And there is no professional help where I live. There is one person within 100 miles that deals with that sort of rehabilitation, and she is fully booked out. So there is no sort of way of dealing with that. Aside from myself, and a lot of the stuff, especially when they talk about cognitive behavioural therapy, they don't put much online. I think it's because they don't want people to get it wrong, but at the same time, some of us just don't have access. It would be nice to find stuff out about that. If you do happen to know about it, please put your comments down below. Give us some information, because it's something that I have problems with, and I know a lot of other people who've got these issues. I have to deal with family members that have it as well, and it's not easy, but focusing on somebody else does, for a short amount of time, help with your own in some ways. But one of the first steps is to try and change your environment, remove yourself from the stressors. If you can't remove yourself from the stressors, find a place to get peace. And if that is getting out for a walk, even though you want to keep doing what you're doing, you might want to continue your knitting, you might want to continue your gaming, work towards your daily goals or stuff like this. But taking half an hour to an hour out, or in my case an hour and a half because I got lost in the car, to go and find somewhere new, have a look at this stuff. It doesn't need to be in a car, it can be walking distance. There's plenty of around us that's different. Where I used to live in Coinning, maybe one day I'll manage to get back and do a video about it. But there is a little weir that just sitting, watching the water flow was actually quite a calming thing for me as a teenager. So I would go out to this place, and it was about a 40-minute walk away. So I'd walk down to this place, sit down by the weir, listening to the water, and I could spend hours there, and then just go home. Sometimes with a mate, sometimes without. But it was something that was good to cleanse your soul a little bit. Now that our fire's going a little bit, let us open this sausage. I made one of these sausage forks the other day. It was actually made from a couple of spare welding rods. Some chromium stainless steel welding rods. Let me just get a bit closer. I'll set this down where they can cook. My sausages are heavily balanced to one side. But yeah, so I made one of these rods. It's a little bit longer than this particular stick. But a lot of the guys that saw it were going, why the hell would you make the prongs so large? They're maybe 3 inches long. It's like, they don't need to be that size. It's like, I prefer to cook as many sausages as possible. Now, in case you're wondering about the flame grilled state of these, I've sort of mentioned it before. These particular sausages, I'm just covering my face because I don't like it on tinterwebs. But these particular sausages are, what do you call it? They are sort of pre-cooked. A lot of the finished sausages are pre-cooked. So you don't exactly need to cook them properly. You can eat them cold, and some people do. I find it horrendously disgusting. It's not texture, not taste, it's texture. I just don't like it. I can't help it. Right. So we'll open up the mayonnaise. Is it ready to go like this? I don't know. No, it's not. I've opened up the inside of the mayonnaise. I'm on a time limit here because I don't want to burn my stuffs. And just a wee spread of the Curco goodness. Pickle mayonnaise, honestly, quite nice. Oh yeah. Why? Put the fork back in, sanitise it a little bit. And then I'll have one sandwich, a bit for drink, and then I'll go and make another one. Right, I thought I was watching a duck just there. I could just see a little black thing. Oh no, it was, he's just come back up. Jesus. He managed to swim like 10 metres underwater over the course of about a minute and a half. It's kind of cool. Now remember, the best cooking that you can actually do is over the embers. You're getting a lot more sort of flame, a lot more heat, sorry, once the flames have burnt down. However, because these are partially cooked, and because for me I quite like the crispination taste off of them, and I really do like it when they sort of explode a little bit like that. I like cooking them in the fire. Everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's got their own opinions, and on the internet you will hear everybody's opinions spoken with some sort of vitriol. Well, it's spurting all over the place. Ah, it reminds me of somebody. Anyways. Well, that's crispening up. Get me the roll, which again, pre-sliced and pre-buttered, because I used to be a Boy Scout, so prepared is prepared. Sausage, sauce. Don't often take sausages with these, but why the fuck not? Nicely blackened. There we go. Now put it in on reverse, and then again purify the stick and fire it. I'm feeling particularly weird and uncomfortable today because although I am wearing a gaming hoodie, it's a hoodie I've not worn in several years. I actually got it when Fallout 4 came out. But I have not had clothing on that is so dark in quite some time, so having the black hiking boots on, I usually wear them if I'm doing forestry stuff, and then having a black top on, and the underside with my glasses on, everything's looking quite dark at the moment. It's making me feel weird in my own skin. Welcome to the world of autism. Let's talk about that for a funny minute, because autism is a particularly funny thing at the lighter end of the spectrum. So if you actually go through a questionnaire with me, personally, I score really high on the autism scale. But if you talk to me or you listen to me, obviously I don't sound the way that we've been trained to think of as autism. And part of this is because diagnoses have gotten better as we've come along as a culture. We understand more of it, therefore there are higher diagnoses. Doctors are becoming more literate in it, so they're better at recognising it. But one of the funny things is that occasionally, because of the way that a neurotypical thinks and the way that an autistic person thinks, if you've got a neurotypical doctor, they might ask a question, and the autistic patient, who has not yet been diagnosed, will answer in a way that the neurotypical patient, the neurotypical doctor thinks, okay, definitely not autism. And a good example of this is clothing, because people that have autism, and there is a lot of people that have been diagnosed with ADHD that are on this particular spectrum as well, because those two things appear to be linked. That's just my own opinion, but bear it in mind for any future conversations. However, there's a funny question, because one of the things they say is, do you ever feel uncomfortable in your clothing? Does your clothing irritate you? And they'll give examples, and one of the good examples is, do you ever get irritated by the labels on your clothing? Now, the neurotypical person, that's a question, and it's an answer. No, I don't, or yes, I do. However, the autistic person, especially an adult, would say, no, I don't get irritated. I don't remember the last time I was irritated by the label on my clothing. However, the reason I don't get irritated by the label on their clothing is because they're an adult. They buy their own clothing, and they buy the clothing without irritating labels. They buy clothing that they like the texture of. As autistic children, the parents worked out that they had a sensitivity to certain types of fabrics or clothing, so they don't buy them this. I personally detest polycotton. I can't stand the texture of it, so I don't wear it. And I refuse to wear it. And when I buy like shirts, if I need to be in a formal presenting job, like when I worked in hotels, I would buy stuff that was pure cotton, that was very soft cotton. It had been sort of well threaded. Something with a higher thread count that was quite nice. And a lot of people don't understand that. But that conversation between the two people, the neurotypical doctor and the autistic person seeking a diagnosis, the conversation is too quick to sort of think through. Do you get irritated by your clothing? No, I don't, because none of my clothing is irritating. Why the hell would I wear this? Whereas somebody who's more neurotypical might not get as irritated by their clothing, even if it is something that does cause a bit of irritation. If occasionally the little bit in the back of your shirt sort of scratches a little bit, you might think, oh, that's annoying. But then it doesn't for a while. Whereas for the autistic person, it's that annoying that they won't wear it again. My son's like this with gloves. He has to have his gloves inside his sleeves no matter what. And when you're talking winter in Finland, you can imagine how many issues that causes. And it's an autistic thing. It's just one of those things. But there is this wide spectrum, and just because you've sort of had the conversation and the question has been answered, it doesn't mean that people know what's going on. It's quite a funny aspect to me. The time of the bag. Let's pick up some of this shit. Now, something you might be noticing is that I'm crunching those cans. In Finland you can return bottles for some monies. However, if it doesn't have a barcode you can't do it. So the likes of this, you can return, you get, what is it, 10 cents for returning it. But for something like the cans that have been burnt around about here, you ain't getting shit. So it's always best to put them into the metal scrap. I'll just jump up here, grab this stuff. Why be arseholes? So, a bag of rubbish and 4 bottles. Or 2 cans and 2 bottles. 10, 20. What have we got? 30, 45 cents. 50 cents. 60 cents. Yeah, a little bit of money. I just realised I closed up my bag, but I'm still drinking this, so gonna have to open that. And now my fork is cooled down. Hey, remember, as a little safety tip, if you're ever testing something you think will be warm or might be warm, test it with the back of your hand so you flinch away. If you test with your fingers, you tend to grab when you flinch. Little safety tip. I saw somebody do that literally last week, doing some welding stuff, and a lad went to pick up something, and now the thing that he was welding as a test has his fingerprints on it, seared onto it. So something I'm thinking about doing with these videos in general, I quite like them as an idea of just sort of showing around, showing the places where you can have a chill out a little bit around the local area, around more of Savonlinna. I want to go out further distance, however at the moment fuel has become a severe cost for me, so I can't exactly mess about too much. Hopefully in a couple of months that'll become a bit better. I'll leave the links and stuff like that below if you are somebody who is ample with the coin and likes to support people. I've got some stuff coming in from my gaming channel, which is about 10 quid a month, I think. So by Christmas there should be something there. But the idea is to sort of go and show a lot of these places and try and show different places. Sometimes during the day, sometimes during the night. It won't always be a different place. My plan for the next one is actually going to be in the garden, but it's going to be in my fire pit. I've got one, I'm building another one. I say I've got one, I haven't actually gotten it yet, but it will be there. But I'm building another one. My idea is to also make it a little grill thing. However, this be the plan, but I think this is something that is quite good, quite chill. And one of my ideas is actually to go through any of the comments and things like that on the next video. So if you have left comments on a video, then on the next one I'll go through them and chat about, so that it's a bit of a discussion. It's not just a one-way thing, because I'm as interested in other people's lives, and I quite like videos like this for chilling out. Something that's quite good to see how somebody else is doing things, see how somebody else is living their life. And obviously these are sort of narrated or cultivated things. My life is not all peace and roses and things like this. It's why stuff like this is important. And if it's a case that you are somebody who can't get out to a place like this, either by location or financial sort of means, then hopefully this is something that's interesting, is something that can change the mind. There is a particular thing, I'm actually going to show it here. There is a particular thing that comes up an awful lot. Let's go through some of this graffiti, but this is the one that you always get. And obviously, coming from Britain, that, if you don't get it, that says homo, H-O-M-O, and it means what you think. But it's like the most common piece of graffiti you'll get. Oh, my camera's on zoom. Let me just adjust that. There we go. So we've got Du hast, which is German, you hate. Somebody's a Rammstein fan. Then Cairo Emme. Nintio. Ja Jomme. Sullo. Janne. Jonna. Oh, Finnish names, Jesus. Finns don't particularly like changing names in families. Like, they stick to the same sort of traditional ones. Milka loves Hennika. Yummy. So, like, for instance, the first place that I ever worked here, there was, let me get this right, there was two guys called Yanni. There was that is Janne. So, as in in English. So, Yanni, two guys. There was a Yanni, who is from one of the Baltic states. So that was Jane, I think. It was either an E or an I. Then there was two guys called Yari. One of them who had been there for a while. One of them who had been there sort of 5 minutes. He was a summer worker. There was Harry and Ari. So Harry and Arry. And there was then, what was it? There was Yoni and Tony. They all have this lyricism about it. It also comes in with Finnish swear words. Every Finnish swear word has a musical rhythm to it, and it's really funny. It's caused me a lot of problems in my life, because if, for instance, your wife is exasperated at something and she swears, it's not good for you to laugh. But if you hear somebody going Satana or Perkele, it's got this rhythm to it that I find hysterical. So every time that something goes wrong and she properly swears, I just laugh and I'm in the dog's house immediately. But it's so funny, because all of it, you have Satana, Perkele, Vitu, which is usually used as Voi Vitu, which is FFS, for fuck's sake. For feck's sake. To use the Irish version. But they all have this rhythm to them that if somebody ever comes against you in anger and swears at you, especially coming from a Scottish perspective where we've had a little bit more violence in our culture, if somebody comes to you that has that lyricism as they are stating something, it is very funny and very difficult to keep a straight face. Unfortunately, when I was younger, many years, 20 years ago, when I was in Finland, somebody started to fight with me, and part of the reason they started it was because when they shouted at me as a threat, I laughed because I didn't understand what they said. At that point, I spoke no Finnish whatsoever. I was learning Swedish because of where I was living, and when they swore at me, I laughed my head off because it sounded hysterical. So they decided that the cure for my laughter was a punch to the noggin, which immediately broke several knuckles in their hand and refocused my game face from this is funny to I'm gonna need bail money. But it is just a funny sort of thing. Translating different cultures. Swedish is also one that's really funny. They basically have one swear word, which is skit. And it is shit. That's it. But you hear it in all different things. You hear Swedish kids swearing in Finnish because they don't have anything as aggressive in their language. because they're very soft things. If you don't know, Viking is not how you say it in Swedish or Norwegian. It's Viking. It's very high pitched and squirrely. The I is pronounced as a high E, so it's Viking. We are the Vikings. Which sort of changes a lot of it. The language itself tends into the higher pitches, even with people that speak in a lower register. So it sounds quite effeminate to ears outside of it. And when it comes to Sweden, you got to remember that the only Vikings that stayed in Sweden were the ones that weren't ballsy enough to go and fight. So all of the proper Vikings left. That's why you don't piss about with people from the Shetland Islands in Scotland, because hard as the Soviet armour. A bit in peace and quiet. So I'm going to pack up, I'm going to douse some stuff. I actually don't have anything to douse aside from the tin I brought with me. That's something I should think about in future. Normally I'd leave everything to burn down, but with the time at the moment being 2:30, well, I think it's time to go back. But it's a nice peaceful day. Right, there we go. So we've doused. Have a little wander around. And back up to the car. This is a good way to touch grass. Good way to get out. So, let's head up the path. This time, I might just follow the straight route up through the road. Just trying to keep the gimbal at a good angle. So this is a bit of an advantage with this camera. I can wiggle a fair bit. So it's looking quite good. Definitely something that's useful for more things, and having a little additional battery is a good thing. Plus I've now got a memory card in it that I can store over a day of film. That's nice. There's a bit of a problem with the active cards, although the other little Osmo, I think it's an Osmo Nano that I've got for the other camera. The reason I got it, even though I have a dislike of the Chinese companies, is because I was looking for something that is small, that is portable, and that will not overheat. And the GoPros, since GoPro 8, have been overheating like you wouldn't believe. Last one I had was GoPro 10, and it overheated on me in -30. I was in a forest, I was working in a forestry machine, and the internal for the forestry machine, the normal heating, sort of has it about 10 degrees. It's not warm. There's actually a point to that, so that you don't get too hot when you're in the machine if you have to go out and do stuff. And also, I personally don't like the heat. So this machine was set at the colder temperatures, and the GoPro overheated after half an hour. So let it cool down, give it 45 minutes to cool down, put it back on. Overheated. Kept overheating every 5 minutes. Just recording, it was only recording 1080p video. So got it replaced under warranty. Same thing, new firmware updates, same thing. So got it replaced the second time, and then at one point I was out, same again, forestry machines, but I was doing maintenance. So I'm out permanently in -30.
And from a cold start, so I hadn't been using a couple of days, I was out, started to work fixing machines. One of the first things that I did was to strap something over the registration plates. Then I put the camera on. So the camera's, oh, a lovely fella. It's just in the middle of the road. Look at this wee cad. He's just in the shade, minding his own business. Thought that was a leaf for a second. But yeah, so rucksack had been on the ground for half an hour. Things should be frozen. Fairly cold. Puts on the GoPro, 10 minutes it overheats. I'm actually in, I think it was like minus 26. Right. Ah, screw it. Let's go this way, that way. If somebody is watching this for directions, you'll be able to see both of the ways down to this place. So if we are, let me just turn around here. If we are coming down, you're talking last cabin on the right. There's a little turning before it, you head round. But yeah, the GoPro camera just locked out on us. 5 minutes and minus 26 and it overheated. And they said, oh no, there's no thermal problems. But GoPro 9 overheated on me. The 8 never did. And I had the original Hero, the Hero 3, no, the original Hero, the Hero 2, Hero 5, Hero Session. And then I think it was a 7, and then I had 2 8s. But a lot of my gear was sold when I was coming to Finland, and then after coming to Finland I didn't really replace it. So it's been a bit of a different time. But yeah, so there's a little camping ground here as well, which is sort of over to the right. You'll see that, it's on the maps, it's on Google and all that jazz. You can come and camp here. You can, there's, as you see down here, there's little cottages, the little ones we've just passed. There's some more ones over here. But you've got this general place where you can come and stay on holiday. You can bring caravans as well. Especially for those of you that are Norwegian inclined. Norwegian caravans, Jesus. There's a whole culture to them, it's fantastic. So then, this is us back up at the main area. Stables to the right. Some of the buildings up here to the left are also owned by the stables. It's a fairly chill time. A little bit of signage for you. So, hiya hiitasti, go slow or don't go fast. Faro lapsia ja helmet, be careful of children and animals. It's always good to have the signage. It is something that a lot of places will do the signage in multiple languages. And throughout Europe, normally, oh look, a couple of little lambs. But throughout Europe, normally, it will be a place where you'll get it in English as a second language, which is helpful. And even if it's not in English as a second language, because they're all Germanic slash Latin based languages, that you can usually work out what's going on. But Finland's a bit of a different place, because Swedish is technically, well, not technically, but Swedish is one that sort of these days, there's so many loan words on it that it basically falls into the English category, and a lot of stuff is so close you can understand it, or English is taking words from Swedish. This car sounds awful. So yeah, if that was interesting to you, or just a piece of something to rot your brain or to calm you down, then you are more than welcome. Give us a comment, tell us what you're doing. If you want to subscribe, that is awesome. I'm going to put this on as a bit more longer form video, just as a sort of chill thing. So that's the idea of this. I think it's kind of like what they call a vlog. I don't really know, I'm not really sort of blogging things. I am steaming up because of my old glasses. But yeah, so the whole point of this is just to cam chill videos, and I'll do a little bit more of this and hopefully show more of the local area, more of the places around about, and then further afield if there is more support. By support I just mean people that are interested, comments and subscriptions, and I'll do more and more and more. But if you do want to sling coin, then the links are down in the description, but it's not a necessity. Although if it is something you want to see more of and you're willing to support it, then I'll do that too. I think it's kind of interesting seeing different places and how different places look. So this is something that's really interesting to me. So if you have a look here, you've got this little sign below the triangle that shows you the dominant path of the road. So for me coming down here, I have the right of way, and it kind of follows the bus routes in general, so you get it in a few different places. However, there's one place in the middle of Savonlinna, well, not in the middle, but out towards the eastern side of Savonlinna, where the priority changes, or it's changed multiple times, summer to winter, or whoever's doing the sign or whatever. I do not know the reason why it changes, but not far away from what I think was a Shell garage, it might still be a Shell garage, you've got this road that even the locals do not know who has the right of way, and there has been multiple accidents there. Usually it's low speed, but it is the dumbest idea that I have ever seen, because at one point they had said it changes priority from summer to winter, but then they took the signs down for a couple of years, and when they put them back up, they put them up different, then they changed them, put them back to the way it was. And there's a few rules in the Finnish sort of driving code, because all of Europe follows roughly the same rules, so you can drive in any other country with foreign licenses. However, there are some rules that countries have that are slightly different, and one of these was to do with the dominant thing. So if you were coming out of a car park, you did not have right of way. So if you were coming out of a car park onto a main road at a T-junction, the person across from you had right of way first. Didn't matter, or like the main road would have right of way, and then the person across from the, and then you. But it was written in the highway code for Finland, but nowhere else. So it wasn't something that came up in foreign familiarization packets or stuff like this. A couple of years ago, I think maybe 2 years ago, they changed it, and they just put the local sort of traffic agency
just put a little notice in a couple of papers, and that was it. So it was a main road change. And a good example, like here, if this, where it's coming from the petrol station, if this was the right of way and there was a road there, this person would have last priority coming from the petrol station. And they changed that. So now you've got a whole load of drivers that do not know about this, that assume they have, that if they're coming to that junction, that the person in front of them coming from the car park doesn't have right of way. But then if it's someone who is a local, then they might know, they might have a different idea of what's going on. If it's somebody from outside of Finland that doesn't know about that rule, it might change. So it was something where you needed local knowledge to navigate the road network, which is what the whole rules of the road are supposed to sort of avoid, because not everybody's got local knowledge. So it was a good idea they got rid of it, but they just didn't tell anybody they got rid of it. And it's something that comes up quite a lot, especially for me, because this supermarket here, the junction's just up top, that was one of the ones where it was a sort of primary thing, because you're coming up a road from a right of, or from a non-right of way, the opposite of one, and all of the local residents would try and pull out in front of you, or you get tons of people slamming on the brakes. And there has been more than one accident there. At one point there was a really bad accident where nobody got badly hurt, but two people tried to push at the same time from opposite directions coming across the road, and there was a little guy on a monkey bike, these little tiny, like almost go-kart sized bikes that a lot of the 16 and 17 year olds drive, and this poor kid got sandwiched between the two idiot drivers. That was ridiculous. I can hear a high-pitched whining, which tells me there might be a police or ambulance vehicle coming. But yeah, so with all of that rant being gone, this is the long video, this is the randomness of a bit of a peace and quiet. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you leave comments. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'll be doing this. It won't be regular, it won't be weekly, it'll be once a month. But it'll be something that doesn't harass you too much. Right, so the plan for this channel in general is to do this and work our way out. Go into all of the grilly places and stuff like that around about the local area, and expanding to as many as we can in Finland. I'll be doing about a video a month, I reckon. There might be an extra one on top of that, but I'm aiming for a video a month because I don't get much time to do this. If you want to support any of that stuff, then there's links for coin, there's subscription, like free subscription, not money wise, and just sort of leave a comment and stuff like this. Any comments that are left, I might reply in the thing, but I'll also address them in any of the next videos. So you might get a comment, a reply to a comment, and be mentioned in the video where I'm saying two entirely different things because my brain's thought of different stuff at the same time. But aside from that, in general, if you do happen to live in Finland, then you're also welcome to give us recommendations for things to drink, non-alcoholic, because I'm driving, and sausages and stuff like that to be cooked. My local shop is actually very good at getting stuff in from all over the place. I can even get Iron Brew in from Scotland, which is always nice. So if you want to do that, then you're more than welcome, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!